A non-Muslim brother who can speak English.
Test. Good evening, sir. I would like to ask you some questions. Sir, I'm afraid to identify myself as a non-Muslim, but I can't lie to myself that I have this various doubt to Islam. So I ask you to clarify this. I would like to ask you some questions that I think it's
Brother,
quite
are you a
important.
Muslim or are you a non-Muslim?
I am complicated.
You're born in a Muslim family or non-Muslim family?
I was born in Muslim family, but I have these doubts in my mind that
Inshallah,
can't go.
wait for some time. Inshallah, you will be third in the queue. First, we'll ask a non-Muslim born in a non-Muslim family.
Sir,
So
but sir,
we have to
Imam,
follow the rules, brother.
but sir,
If you say you're a
it's my
non-Muslim-
family, but it's not me.
Are you a non-Muslim or a Muslim?
I'm afraid to say that because I fear to God.
Okay, fine. I know that you're born in a Muslim family, but now your faith in Allah has gone. You may not be believing in God, correct?
No, I'm not atheist, but I might agnostic.
Agnostic. Okay, what's your question?
Okay, I hope that I didn't get sin from Allah. Okay, I would like to ask you some questions that I think it's quite important for me. And I've been kept this for my whole life, and I think you are the most suitable person that can answer my questions. My first question is, most of us as a Muslim, we all know that khamr or alcohol is no longer allowed in Islam for a long time ago. But why it doesn't speak for slavery? Why it hasn't been prohibited yet until now? Because the second question, it's related actually.
Brother,
the second
brother,
question
brother,
is...
Brother, wait. There are many people waiting in the queue.
No. But
Wait.
it's related, sir. Please.
Brother, please wait.
The second question
You have to
is...
follow the rules and regulation.
But
There
we
are
can...
hundreds of people waiting in the
Okay.
queue. We have to be just.
Yeah,
there
yeah.
are 4 microphones.
It's
First
not...
of all, you broke the queue.
It's
If
not a first, it's not a second question. It's still related, so it's not a second question. And we can actually, if we have one, what I learned, that we can actually having intercourse with them out of marriage. It's just blowing my mind, and as hard as I try to make it logical, but it's getting more
Okay,
illogical.
I've got the question. I've got a question, brother.
And
Brother,
that's the questions. The first is
whether you finished your question, you want to ask more question?
no.
You have already asked 2 questions.
Ya,
I've-
sudah dipahami, Pak. Sudah
I've
dipahami, tinggal
said to
dijawab.
you 2 questions.
Brother, you can ask only 1 question. First
Yeah,
of
I mean-
all, you shouldn't have been asking a question. I gave you a chance. I was kind enough. You asked a question. You want to ask 1 more question. You asked the second question.
No.
Now you want to ask a 3rd question.
No, I don't want to ask the 3rd questions. It's
I have
just,
got the question.
yeah.
Will I repeat the
okay.
question?
Okay.
Let me repeat the question.
Most of us know as a
Brother, will you finish or not? You have already finished your question.
Yeah. Okay.
You finished your question, yes or no?
Yeah. So could you
If
please
you have
give
not
me?
finished your question, you have to go behind the queue.
I have finished my question, and could you please give me some clearance towards that? Thank
So if you keep quiet, will I be able to say?
Yeah.
You're so confused. You're keeping on talking and talking and talking. After the question is over, you have to listen to the answer. The
But,
brother said he's confused.
Alright.
He's born in a Muslim family, but he's gone away. He believes in Allah, but is agnostic. And he's saying, like in Islam, khamar, alcohol has been banned. why hasn't slavery been banned in Islam? Question number one. Question number two, that how can you have sex with what your right hand possesses? Second question.
What? I didn't catch it. Please, could you repeat the second question?
Brother, you're wasting the time now.
All right. Okay.
Oh, you want to give a big lecture on each question?
Pakai headset aja, pakai headset.
No.
Do you want me to answer or will I take the next question?
I want you to answer it, please. No, I understand it.
What more do you want to touch? Already 2 questions are over.
No, it's 2 questions.
Sorry?
About the slavery.
You
What?
told having sex with the slave, I cannot think about it. That's it, khalas. What, you want to add something to it?
Yes, please answer it because
If you
I
keep
need.
quiet, I'll answer it now. If you keep quiet, I'll
Diam,
answer.
diam, Mbak. Mas, bagaimana dia mau jawab?
You're confused, brother. I can see you on the screen. What you're saying, you're not understanding. The brother asked 2 questions. Number 1, that alcohol is prohibited in Islam. Why isn't slavery prohibited in Islam? Point number 2, how can you have sex with the slave? As far as the first question is concerned, that why is slavery not prohibited in Islam? There are various verses of the Quran which encourages you to free slaves. And the Arabic word used is what your right hand possesses in the Quran. Allah talks about what your right hand possesses. And when the Quran was being revealed, at the time, that time, prostitution and sex was very common. Allah brought a prohibition that you cannot have sex except with your wife and that which your right hand possesses. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings the restriction that you cannot have sex with anyone except what your right hand possesses and your wife. Today in most parts of the world, you can have sex with anyone and everyone. Do you know that? You go to America, the American statistics tell us that a man has 8 different sexual partners before he settles down with one. And after he settles down, how many more does he have? It's not mentioned. So according to the American statistics, he has 8 different sexual partners. Prostitution is very common. In Islam, prostitution is prohibited. Adultery is prohibited. And I said in my lecture. Now your question, why is slavery allowed? The reason is that what I can think of, that Quran has not abolished slavery, it has told you, it has encouraged you to free slaves. If you do a sin, okay, free a slave. It has always encouraged freeing of slave. What I can think of, why Islam hasn't abolished is because it is the only religion which shows you a way that if it comes back, it has the rules and regulation. Today, if you compare to what your right hand possesses, in Islam, the right hand possesses when you have a war and when you capture the woman, we say what your right hand possesses. Today, in English, it will be called POW, prisoners of war. If you see the UN Charter of the world today, how you treat a prisoner of war, and if you know what USA has done to Guantanamo Bay, have you heard of Guantanamo Bay? Brother, have you heard of Guantanamo Bay?
I haven't heard of it.
I have not heard. Have you heard of Guantanamo Bay? Yes or no? Yes, yes. MashaAllah. Guantanamo Bay is a prison created by USA, mostly to keep the Muslims there. All the human rights are violated there. All the human rights are violated. In Islam, what your right hand possesses in Islam, in the prisoners of war, they are let free. They aren't kept in closed wires or closed walls. All the countries in the world, when they have prisoners of war, they have barricades, they have got jails, they have got prisons where they are enclosed. In Islam, they are let free. Only thing, they should not run away. And then these prisoners, these what your right hand possesses, has got rules and regulation. You cannot unnecessarily torture them. You cannot overburden them. You have to give them food. Today's prisoners of war, everything goes on. They are humiliated. They are tortured. There is homosexuality. Everything what you are. So if you compare the human charter of the UN Charter of Prisoner of War and compare to the rules and regulation of the Quran, at least the Quran has a system of how to take care of these prisoners of war, which is not there in humankind. The rules and regulations laid down by the Quran for a prisoner of war is far superior than any country in the world. You show me one country in the world which has better rules and regulations than the Quran for prisoners of war. Do you know of any country? Brother, do you know of any country?
I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know, therefore you are confused. So I believe that Quran, though it has encouraged the freeing of slaves, it has not abolished, because just in case if it comes back, Quran has the rules and regulation. And regarding having sex with what your right hand possesses, today there is no war going on, the way explained in the Quran, so there is no question of having what your right hand possesses. Today we don't have it. At that time, prostitution was very common. Adultery was very common. Women were looked down upon. So Quran has got a restriction. The men cannot have sex with anyone except who you marry and what your right hand possesses. And Allah further says in Surah Nur chapter 24 that if you do not have the means to give mahr or get married, then marry what your right hand possesses and give her freedom in mahr. That means the Quran is encouraging. Marry what your right hand possesses and give in her mahr her freedom. So here Quran is showing a way how to stop the evil practices and comes to the straight path. And this is what is mentioned in the Quran. Hope that answers the question.
Sir, so it's not out of marriage.
Sorry?
I mean, the having intercourse, it's not out of marriage.
It can be within marriage, it can be out of marriage. But today, there is no question of having what your right hand possesses, because today, there is no Islamic war being fought. Point number one. This is talking about the time when the Quran was revealed. Do you understand? It can take place again tomorrow. So that's the reason Allah hasn't abolished it. So here it says, you can only have sex with your wife or that which your right hand possesses. That's it. Hope that answers the question.
But there is so many group call label themselves as a Muslim, but
brother, if somebody is calling themselves Muslims and not following the Quran, I am not to blame. They are pseudo-Muslims. What I have given you is based on the Quran. If anyone who calls himself Muslim and doesn't follow the Quran, he is to blame. So to understand Islam, don't look at the Muslim, read at the Quran. Hope that answers the question, brother. Can we have the next question, please?
Okay, thank you.